Hello ladies and gentlemen, Wasted here for the XP Gamers, and welcome to Dual Universe, an MMO sci-fi space sim sandbox that is looking to combine mechanics seen in games like Space Engineers, EVE, and even Elite Dangerous into a massive title that seems to challenge perhaps even Star Citizen for scope. With Captain Shack about 2,000 miles away from his office actually at the event for the announcement, we immediately met up on Skype afterwards so he could point me to the trailer and talk about the massive potential it seemed to offer, actually in a video you can find just here. We've now had a chance to investigate a bit further into the honestly crazy goals that Novaquark, the developers, have set for the game, and thought it would be a good idea to summarise things, and in doing so maybe get an idea into what this game could be like if everything comes through to fruition. No discussion or opinion, just what's been said so far. I think the best place to begin is actually with the description that Novaquark give the game themselves, because it really does start to make clear the sheer size of what is planned for Dual Universe. So, a vast, realistic universe made up of millions of planets that can be freely edited and built on within a continuous single shard environment with warfare, crafting, even politics. If you're experienced with MMOs, then you might already be familiar with the term single shard. And this alone is a massively impressive claim. Single shard basically means that everybody is there, all at once, all the time. Not instanced like in other MMO games, for example, even really recent stuff like Elite Dangerous. Now this is a pretty massive deal and something the developers themselves are not holding back with, claiming the engine will be potentially capable of handling millions of players sharing the same world at the same time, without any sort of boundaries or zones or instancing. This is enabled by a technology they're calling a continuous single shard cluster that will essentially assign server nodes dynamically depending on how many players are in an area, while also making that area update faster to other areas around it to ensure that everything's still smooth. It seems almost a bucket list of game features. Tied closely into the clever server technology is the freely editable world that they say will not only allow smooth planet-scale construction thanks to an infinite level of detail feature, but also terrain that can be deformed and sculpted while updating to players around it in real time. So the construction side of things is clearly going to be a large portion of the game. So far the actual construction resembles the block building style of games like Space Engineers and Empyrean, but with massive scale and what appears to be a very strong tie back into the universe again. There is a little information about how the construction will actually work also, with two types of construction, either planet, which allows modification of the planets themselves and the building of structures on the surface or within the surface, or construct, where you start from something called a core unit that can be scaled in size and then attach other components to it, like cockpits, thrusters and weapons. Moving on, little has been said regarding the crafting, the trade or the politics, but we do know that the economy itself will be player driven in a similar style to EVE, where players can set orders to buy or sell materials, and it will also feature a market for selling the ships themselves, which is an interesting mechanic for a sandbox construction game to feature, but it's yet to be seen exactly how this is going to work. Another feature to show up in Dual Universe that's exciting and only recently becoming something developers could even consider is the scale of the universe itself. In a similar way to No Man's Sky, the contents of the universe will be procedurally generated as players explore, which technically makes it infinitely big. Unlike No Man's Sky though, all players begin in a central hub, the Ark ships, and expand from there with basically technology and wealth seemingly being what's going to limit your progress. This ties back nicely into the sandbox part of the title and how that will reflect in-game. Novaquark have talked about emergent gameplay being the driving force behind the politics, trade and warfare components. Although before I talk about warfare, I should mention it does seem like both PvE and PvP lovers are going to be catered for in this game, with safe zone areas available for people who prefer to build in peace. In respect to politics and warfare, the emergent gameplay refers to the idea that things will be very player driven, which harks very much back to the way EVE operates and how, with some framework, players can actually create a living universe of their own. Combined with a game that allows construction as Dual Universe will, and it could offer a very unique experience, if it works. So, planet scale construction and an infinite universe including warfare and PvP. This is inevitably going to mean some massive constructions and trying to fight with them. Something I know from Space Engineers is not always so easy to achieve. Rather than backing off from the challenge, Novaquark have set their aim really high though, talking about hundreds of players not only aboard a ship, but seemingly helping to fly and control it, with talk of specializations like navigation or weaponry. I'd also make the assumption if you're going to have one huge ship with 100 people manning it, you're going to need at least one more. You've got to have something to fight. After all that, I'd expect to now be done with the features and be wishing the developer good luck achieving all that stuff, but there's an easily overlooked part of the game description, RPG, and they really mean it. This is information that even the devs have said may change as they go, but for now, while characters won't have levels in Dual Universe, they will have proficiencies or skills which can be raised by performing the associated action, and that currently these points won't be lost on death. Although how much further this system goes is a question still unanswered. The final thing to mention is pricing, because while there's no final structure of course yet, Nova have mentioned that they're quite liking the idea of game time coupons that could be bought or sold in game as well as bought offline. Now while this is a fairly common approach, it does probably tell us one thing. They are looking at an MMO style subscription or some similar structure. This is probably not going to be a one-off upfront purchase. Dual Universe is a game that seems to combine some of the best from the construction sandbox genre and meld it into MMORPG and Space Sim, and then actually offers some answers to the immediate question of how is that even possible? There's even more cool stuff that I couldn't find space to fit in this as well, like LUA scripting for greater control over your ship, and a UI that works off HTML5 that could potentially allow custom UIs to be made. It's exciting stuff, and we'll be following things closely on the channel, including an upcoming interview with Captain Shack actually getting to ask the developers some questions direct. So keep an eye out for that one sometime really soon. Thanks a lot for tuning in, folks. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button or consider subscribing. Or if my sudden appearance didn't go down well, then you know where that dislike button is, but please also leave a comment below and let us know what you thought of this first impromptu video with me as a host. And thanks a lot for watching, folks. See you in the next video.